But anyway, yeah, Wind Waker. How far into Wind Waker did you get?
I made it as far as the Tower of the Gods, and I think I stopped about halfway through it.
Okay.
So, I remember my opinion on that place. I don't remember much of what I thought about the first two dungeons, or I guess 3 if we count Forsaken Fortress.
That's unfortunate, because honestly, the latter half of Wind Waker is where the dungeons get good.
Yeah, so I think Planny's mostly going to be handling this segment, so...
Yeah. So, Dragon Roost. Again, it's first dungeon syndrome. I'll put it in C. There's nothing I don't like about it. There's nothing too amazing about it. It's there. It exists. I like how Medley is kind of tied to it. Although I do think it's kind of weird that you only run into her a total of 1 time throughout the entire dungeon. And she's supposedly in there the entire time with you. That's a little bit weird to me, but I'm nitpicking at this point. There's really nothing else I could really say about it. It does its job as the first dungeon in the game. Doesn't really do anything more than that. It's there. Now, Forbidden Woods, on the other hand, I think this is one of the most underrated dungeons in the series.
Actually, yeah, I do remember liking that one.
I put it in A, personally. It's just... I don't know what it is I like so much about this place. It's just... the atmosphere is good. It's not Forest Temple levels of good, but it's good. The dungeon item is cool. You get the boomerang here. You also get the Deku Leaf before going in there. And that's a neat thing. This dungeon is basically built around 2 items, rather than just the one you get there. That's cool.
I remember just really liking how the dungeon looked.
Yeah, visually. I honestly, I think that might be why I like it so much. It's just really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about the lighting in there that just looks really smooth and nice, and it really does feel like you're going through a forest. Like, it's one of very few dungeons in the series that doesn't feel like a building. Like, you actually kind of feel like you're in the wilderness almost.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. Also, I don't know if you know about this, but in my most recent playthrough of Wind Waker, like a month ago, I did this for the start. I knew that you could do it, but this is the first time I've done it. Did you know that you can insta-kill the boss in this place?
I did know about that.
It's hilarious.
That's amazing.
Apparently, this was something that, like, people didn't even know existed until after HD came out, and, like, a speedrunner did it, I think. I think the way it originated, like how it was discovered, is basically what you do is you take the sparkling water from the Forest Haven, and if it doesn't like run out timer-wise before you get to Kalidemos, if you pour the sparkling water on it, it'll just die. And I think the reason it was discovered is because somebody was streaming Wind Waker HD, and the chat was jokingly saying, like, water the plant, and then he did, and it died, and everyone was just like, what? And that's just really funny.
Of all the ways to discover something new in a game,
there's fighting Ganon with a bottle, and then there's just watering a plant, which is just like the most mundane thing ever. It's so funny to me. But yeah, that's Forbidden Woods. I really like this place. There's not really anything negative I could say about it. I always look forward to it when I play Wind Waker. It's one of my favorite dungeons in the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna say A for that one too.
Tower of the Gods. Now, this is a dungeon that I actually got stuck on as a kid, and I did not like it when I was young. But not looking back on it now, I realized that the reason that I hated it as a kid is because as a kid I was fucking stupid. Like, I was an idiot as a child and just did not know what to do.
And I'm still an idiot, so...
I don't even know why I got stuck on it for so long. Like, I distinctly remember the point where I stopped. It was a little bit past the first floor. Like, I finished the thing where you, like, go from room to room in the boat. I finished all of that. And then I got to, like, the central tower part, and I stopped somewhere in there, and I don't remember why, but what I do remember distinctly And for whatever reason, 11-year-old me thought that this was the obvious, correct answer. I tried to solve a puzzle somewhere using the Tingle Tuner.
What?
I don't know what in my head made me think this is what it wants me to do, but somewhere, I don't even remember where, I just cemented somehow in my head the fact that, oh, this is what the game wants me to do. They want me to go, like, drop a remote bomb using my Game Boy. And I don't know why I thought that. And then the second I realized what you were supposed to do, I felt like a frickin' idiot. Like, it wasn't even anything complex. I honestly don't even remember what puzzle it was that made me thought that. I was really dumb.
That sounds really funny, actually.
In hindsight, it was, because I don't know what the hell made me come up with that idea. There was no point prior to this where you needed the Tingle Tuner, and nowhere in the game even, like, references the Tingle Tuner outside of you getting it. Like, you get it from Tingle, and then the game never mentions it again, so I don't know what made me think that.
So...
I think I'm gonna put it... I want to put it in B. Because I really like the tone of this dungeon. The music is pretty atmospheric, although it can be a little bit repetitive. The boss is really cool. It's easy, but it's really cool. I really like the boss theme. The fact that you're actually, like, climbing to the top of a tower and then ringing the bell at the end, that's really cool. Other than that, there's not really a lot to say about Tower of the Gods. It's another dungeon where you get the bow, so that's cool.
If I can say one thing about it, and I didn't even finish this dungeon, so don't take my opinion with much salt at all. I remember really not liking this dungeon, basis being water dungeon and the escort puzzles.
I can honestly see that. I think the escort puzzles are decently handled, but they're not what I would call good. They're just not bad either. They just kind of exist. The first half of the dungeon, I would say, is kind of a little bit tedious because the boat moves so freaking slow when you don't have wind. So kind of like going across the first floor from room to room with the water, that's kind of annoying. But other than that, there's not really anything bad I have to say about this place other than just me being a freaking idiot when I was 11.
Okay.
Which brings us to Forsaken Fortress, which is another kind of polarizing one. But not for reasons that we've talked about before. More so because people seem to generally agree that the first part is bad and the second part is cool.
I've actually seen a few people say they like the first part.
Really? I don't really hear people defending it all that much.
I saw one person a while ago, like 8 years ago, say that it's one of the better first dungeons in the series.
Yeah. Now, I can kind of see that. My only issue is that, like, the first visit doesn't feel like a dungeon. The problem with the Forsaken Fortress is that it doesn't really become a dungeon until you go there the second time. And when you do go there the second time, the mood whiplash of being so much more powerful than you were the first time makes this place super memorable. So, like, the fact that it's not all that fun in the beginning kind of works in its favor because when you get there later, it's just so much more enjoyable that it's like a power trip.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, it's satisfying. The fact that they play completely differently kind of works in the second half's favor. That being said, it doesn't make the first half any more fun. The first half is just kind of turn off the lights, sneak around. Yeah, if you're not a fan of stealth, you're not gonna like the first time you go here. The second time you go here, you get a hammer, you fight the bird, you fight Phantom Ganon. It's awesome. It's just super cool. So yeah, I'm gonna put this in B. I would put it in A, but that first part really just isn't all that fun. The second time is A-worthy, maybe even S. And speaking of S, you never got to the Earth Temple, which is like the best one in the game. And that's unfortunate because, oh my god, it's so good. The theming is great, the atmosphere is great, the music is great, you get to play as Medley!
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know how much you know about Wind Waker, but like you use the command melody that you got in Tower of the Gods to control the statues, except you control Medley with it. So you play as her for like half the dungeon. And it's kind of a glorified escort mission if you really come down to it, but it doesn't feel like one. It feels cooperative. It's cool. It's really cool. It's also where you get the mirror shield, so that's a plus, because it looks freaking awesome in Wind Waker. Wind Waker mirror shield is my favorite of them, honestly. I really like how it looks. The boss isn't really anything special. It's not bad, but it's just kind of there. But, like, it's the atmosphere of this dungeon that makes it so good. It's the cooperativeness between Link and Medley. The light puzzles are really cool. Like, have you, like, seen Let's Plays of Wind Waker or anything? Do you know what this dungeon has?
No, I haven't.
Because there's a lot of really cool reflection-based puzzles. Basically, think, like, you know how in some parts of the Spirit Temple or Ganon's Tower in Ocarina of Time, where there'd be, like, light shining in from a window and you have to, like, shine it on something on the wall?
Yeah, that was really cool.
There's, like, double versions of that in the Earth Temple, because you essentially do the same thing, except you have a mirror shield, and Medley's harp also works as a mirror, so you have two people to work with. And you have to, like, reflect light, like, down hallways and, like, between rooms and stuff. It's really cool.
That sounds amazing.
It's really neat. It's such a clever use of a mirror shield. It's the best use of the item we have seen in the series by a distance. Because it's like the same reason the double claw shot is so cool. It's giving you a second of something you already have and making it twice as interesting.
Next time I go to GameStop, I'm definitely picking up another copy of Wind Waker.
Yeah, Earth Temple is easily the best dungeon in the game based on that alone. It's so cool. But yeah, it's S, honestly. It's my favorite dungeon in my favorite Zelda game. It's not my favorite dungeon in the series, but for my favorite one in my favorite game, that kind of says a lot. And that brings us to the Wind Temple. I want to like the Wind Temple. In theory, I like the Wind Temple. Even to an extent, in practice, I like the Wind Temple. The Wind Temple. But the Wind Temple. But I don't know what it is about this place, and I've seen quite a few people agree with me. This place drags on, and it really shouldn't, because it's not that long. It's really not. It's like the same length as every other dungeon in the game. It's not longer by any means. It takes like the same amount of time to do, but it feels longer, and I can't put my finger on why. I think it might just be because the rooms and the dungeon itself is so physically gigantic. It is without a doubt the largest dungeon in Wind Waker, like by a significant margin. The central room is huge. Like the central room in the Wind Temple is as big as the Forbidden Woods. That's how big it is. It's gigantic. And even though the dungeon doesn't take all that long to complete, because you feel tiny in here, and not in the way that Minish Cap makes you feel tiny. You feel tiny in that, like, it feels like it takes longer than it does to get anything done in here. I don't know if that's a thing that people will agree with. From what I've talked to people about, and from what I've heard, people seem to say the same thing, is that the Wind Temple is too long, but, like, it's really not that long. It just feels long, and I don't really know why. But, I mean, having Makar is cool. That's neat. I don't like how he gets kidnapped halfway through it. Granted, you get him back, like, another halfway through it, so he's not really gone for all that long, but he's not used in nearly as many interesting ways as Medley is, let me put it that way. There are puzzles involving him, but they're nowhere near as interesting as the light things in the Earth Temple. You're just kind of planting hookshot targets. Also, you get the hookshot here. That's cool. And also, Mulgara might be my favorite boss in the game. Maybe. I honestly don't know what my favorite boss in Wind Waker is, but there's a good chance it's Mulgara. I really, really like the boss here. It's gigantic, it's imposing, it's threatening, the music is catchy as hell, It's just a cool fight, but that's like the main positive thing that I have to say about the Wind Temple. Everything else just kind of feels like it drags on, even though it doesn't. So I think I'm gonna put it in B. I want to put it in A because I like it. I like it, but it's just not that fun for reasons that I can't really identify. And then Ganon's Tower. Ganon's Tower in Wind Waker is weird. I like it, but at the same time, I kind of think it's like... No, it's not that I think it's overkill, it's that I feel like it relies a little bit too much on stuff you've seen before. And Ocarina of Time kind of has the same issue, but at least the rooms in there are, like, at least a little bit different than things you've seen in their respective dungeons. In Wind Waker, it's not like the rooms are ripped straight from rooms in the earlier dungeons, but you can clearly tell that they're kind of using the same ideas over and over again. Like, the Forbidden Woods one is you're literally just hopping on platforms and gliding to the end with the Deku Leaf. With the Dragon Roost one, you're just grappling to the end. There's nothing more to it than that. And like the whole, like, putting a black choo-choo on the button in the Earth Temple section, that's a thing that you do in the Earth Temple. So, like, it just kind of rehashes ideas without really adding anything new to them. Until you get past the Dungeon Gauntlet, at which point it becomes really cool. Because, again, you don't know much about this, do you?
No, I don't.
You fight Phantom Ganon again here, and the puzzle involved is really neat. Because you fight him in, like, 8 different rooms, and I almost don't want to say it because you haven't beaten the game, and this is a really nice puzzle of, like, how you beat him. It's a cool idea. It's simple, but it's effective.
You know what? I'm gonna death it real quick, and you can explain to the audience what you mean.
Okay. So, yeah. What you do is, you fight him like the same way that you did in the Forsaken Fortress the second time. But the difference is when you hit him once, he falls, and then his sword drops, and if you didn't... There's a bit of text that explains this. Not really too much in depth, but it does explain it. His sword falls, and there's 8 doors around the room. His sword hilt falls towards the door you're supposed to go to. And it's such a clever little thing, and if you didn't read that text, and I didn't the first time I played that, so I had no idea what I was doing, figuring that out is just one of the coolest little aha moments, and you feel so smart for doing it. If you read that text, it probably doesn't have the same impact, but I thought that was really cool as someone who didn't read that. Let me go ahead and tell Kiara that she can come back.
Are we good now?
Yeah, you're good. So yeah, that's the puzzle I really like in that place, and the part leading up to Ganon is also super cool. The Puppet Ganon fight is also really cool. As much as I hated it when I first played the game, I hated the third phase so much, but nowadays I'm actually pretty good at it. I beat it in like 10 seconds in my last run, and I'm kind of proud of that. But yeah, I'll put it in B, just because the first bit, the revisiting dungeons bit, is a little bit repetitive. I like refighting the bosses, but I mean, other than that, it's just repetitive. And then once you get over that hill is when they start introducing cool stuff. Like new bosses, new ways to defeat a boss you've already fought. That's cool, and I like that. Also, I really like, and Ocarina of Time also did this, but how, like, Gen's theme gets progressively louder as you get closer and closer to his door. Ocarina of Time did that too, but Wind Waker also does it, and I don't know, the atmosphere in that place is just really cool. That long hallway at the end where you have the light arrows and you're just obliterating everything because the light arrows are overpowered as hell in Wind Waker. Yeah, it's a fun time. If you get past that first hill of repetitiveness, it's good.